All right, yo. Short and sweet. I'm a little annoyed. I'm a little pissed off. Um, trying to get trying to get things together. We'll do a longer stream tomorrow for sure. For sure, 5 hours. We'll do like 3 today. Hope you're all doing well. Trying to switch some things up and things don't go to plan. So we adapt and we move forward. How we doing in the chat? Thank y'all for being here. David Barnes, sweeter than anything. Appreciate y'all. Little aggravated, so let's get going. Man, hey, good luck, David Barnes. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Got some things that I think will help. Uh, somebody referred it to field work, and I appreciate them for breaking it down because sometimes I say too many words. Yeah, just trying to invest more time on this channel, but at the same time, not be one of these leftists that just sit around, these do nothing leftists. So I want to make sure that I'm showing up, organizing, and going to events that other organizations put up. So that is the goal. It's going to require me to burn one end of the candle, but supposedly I'm still young, so we'll see how that goes. Should we get right into the debate that we're going to cover? It's about an hour and 30 minutes. I've seen only a part of it. But before we do that, we like to pretend to be a little bit above it and that we like reading and whatnot, allegedly. So while today we won't be going over that nonviolent stuff, tomorrow for sure. And been reading just a little bit more of it. I'm not sure if I'll just reread what we went through last time because my voice was so fried. Y'all let me know in the chat tomorrow any thoughts and comments about that. But for now, we'll save the deeper reading for tomorrow. I've been meaning to go over this for quite a while. Sana Saeed, and my apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, always, has their finger on the pulse, which I appreciate. And I've been meaning to go over this. It came out September 6th. It's already about, 11 days old. So I've been meaning to give it a good read at least. And we should be doing that right now. Let's see. Let me change it up for me and see how it changes for y'all. Let's just do this. I think this might be better. Awesome. One sec. Hope y'all didn't hear that. Still a little sick. Pretty gross. It is what it is. Let's get to it. Again, I'm trying to get in the spirit of things. If you're new here, sick and tired of the same unseasoned, bland, mild at best, so-called political analysis from the Wonder Bread tube. Stop messing around with them. They're a waste of your time. They're a waste of everybody's time. They're just here to cash in. We're going to do a little bit more than that here. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Nothing crazy. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like if you're here. Appreciate you. Get busy in the chat. I think we have a pretty dope chat. If you're white, you might get bullied. Nah. If you're a weirdo, you're going to get bullied. Otherwise, you're all good. And I do want to start off at the top by saying, look, doing a little bit of background work, a little bit of research. I think I need to tone it down and cool it with my judgment of the furry community because, yeah, there's a lot of stigma and negativity towards them. And look, to be straight up, like the furry stuff, already weird off the bat, if we're being honest. So I was already put off by that, by the natural biases. But also, I'd seen a lot of kind of weirdo, kind of Nazi, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, furries. Like that's what I seen online mostly, and I'm like, damn, like this is fucking next level shit. And it's funny to see now. We'll get into it a little bit later. Just because you're gay, just because you're trans, just because you're furry, just because you're, I guess, sexually like more liberal, these fools are still white and they're still racist as fuck. So I never in any way had a positive view of the furry community other than, hey, these are consenting adults, whatever it is, what it is. But yeah, like it's been interesting to kind of be like, all right, well, the way that they're being used and targeted, those that aren't the white supremacists and neo-Nazis, that's a little unfair to them. So I'll say that. I don't know what else to add to that, other than that it is funny to. I mean, I've been saying it from from the jump, and I talk about white feminism and how that's part of white supremacy, and their goal is to align and become equal to white men and be above all of us. And I felt no different about the queer community, the gay community, and how the white people there are racist as hell, and even more so in some ways in order to compensate for falling outside of the, you know, heteronormative white patriarchy, right? So some of like the most racist people I've come across have been white queers. That's just the reality when we're talking about gentrification, right? And it makes it more evident for us because they want to take up space as marginalized people, which they are, but they use that and weaponize that against us. So I hope that comes out clear. I'm always trying to be direct and honest and upfront about my blind spots, shortcomings, and whatnot. And I'm always open to hear criticism. This isn't any like this brown skin is well, you can't really see it right now, but I swear it's brown. It's adorable. I'm not thin skinned at all, so I'm always open to hear any criticism or being pointed to an article or a video or something that I should watch that will help in my understanding of a subject that I'm limited to. No, we're just starting off over here, Rosa. We'll jump into it, and Mikey makes mistakes. It says, should I mention that I made an edit for the Charlie Kirk footage that pretends it's part of opening of season 2 of Peacemaker? That is great. Man. But yeah. Yes. Sana Saeed on, man, I really wish he would change that name. On Bad Faith was just perfect, immaculate. It almost made me not want to really talk about the Adam Freeland stuff anymore, even though it was like the busiest. Damn, I really do look, well, depending where I'm at, I look a little white. The Adam Freeland interview, which was the most attention I've ever gotten on Twitter, which I was like, bro, like really, like criticizing. I criticize white people all the time. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not really active online like that. I save it for this. All right, let's get to it. I have a heart out, not gonna lie. Let's get to it. One Day Everyone Will Be Against This by Sana Saeed. At the time of this writing, already messing up. At the time of writing this, my inboxes are overwhelmed with messages from friends in Gaza. The shelling, one tells me, is closer than it's ever been before. Others send updates about what food they have been able to gather, while others send desperate updates about their forced displacement to the south of Gaza, as Israel intensifies its ethnic cleansing offenses in Gaza City. Palestinians in Gaza find themselves in what can be characterized as the final solution stage of what has now been a 2-year-long genocide. The resistance on the ground continues to push back against the attempted Israeli takeover. but watching from afar, the destruction, the dismantling, and the desperation renders one into disparate parts of oneself. Nothing is recognizable. Everything smells rotten. The stench of decay does not leave your nose, no matter which way you turn. And when you have just amazing writers like Sana Saeed, like Mohammed Al Kurd, the way that they're forced to so eloquently and so poetically describe the genocide of their people, like if that alone doesn't fucking hit you, one, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. Because we're not with that inhumane shit. We feel pain over here. That's something that I want to emphasize. You should be feeling this. Your heart should be aching. Your stomach should be turning. Let us not become numb to this. If we become numb to this, if we normalize this, they fucking win. Right? It's the further colonization of your mind, your emotions, your being. And we have to resist that. We cannot become numb to this. We cannot normalize this. Because too often and too quickly it starts up here. We become witnesses to not just the bloody collapse of a nation, but to the collapse of our own worlds we exist in on a day-to-day basis, intimate and shared. In his fiery book, One Day Everyone Will Always Have Been Against This, journalist Omar El Akkad traces the anatomy of that decay in institutions and ideals of democracy and freedom. He once believed in, but that ended with a slaughter. The slaughter of Palestinians that began in October 2023. The title of the book takes from El Akkad's October 25th, 2023 post on X, in which he wrote, "One day, when it's safe, when there's no personal downside to calling a thing what it is, when it's too late to hold anyone accountable, everyone will have always been against this." And the comparisons to World War II and the Nazi genocide of European Jews, of other marginalized people. One thing that is so frustrating is World War II is upheld because one, it happened to Europeans, but also because the US got to play the hero role. They came in late. In some ways, they were, forced into it. In other ways, they were, very excited to reap some of the rewards of the fallout of World War II. We saw with the dropping of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were trying to flex on the world and intimidate the Soviet Union. All these things that were for self-preservation, for self-benefit, for self-gain. It was not done ever for no aspect or the lives of those being targeted by the Nazis, the disabled, the queer, the Jewish, the socialist. Please understand that that was never a factor in why the US got involved in World War II. When we talk about the Klan and neo-Nazis having beef initially, they were able to set that aside for white supremacy. The military during World War II was still racist as fuck, still segregated. So it was not about a conflict of ideology. It was about reaping the rewards of war. That's what it was. So, yeah, without a doubt, in a few decades, we will see a documentary or we will hear about how Biden tried everything he possibly could to push back against this, but unfortunately his hands were tied. Unfortunately, his mind had escaped him, and he wasn't able to really fight for freedom, justice, and the American way the way he would have when he was younger. He was a victim of human biology. And Kamala Harris was pigeonholed by the Democratic Party, but if she would have won, we would have seen what a righteous human being she truly was. And she always sympathized, unfortunately, secretly, because of sexism and racism, with the Palestinian people. But she just couldn't express it publicly because she was afraid she was going to lose to Donald Trump. We're going to see this narrative switch in a couple decades. Maybe sooner with the way that we're seeing, these actors that remain quiet since 2023, if not outright smear the Palestinian resistance forces and denounce October 7th. And we're seeing how suddenly they have found their courage. Suddenly, when Donald Trump is in office, when a Republican is in control of the White House, when now you can point at Orange Man bad for this genocide, now you speak up. Now you found your fucking voice. So a lot of this will depend on, how much damage the Republican Party does domestically, where people can pretend they care about, the empire's actions abroad. Maybe I'm being too cynical. I don't know. Maybe. I want to be happy. I want to celebrate people speaking out for whatever it's worth. But I can't see it that way. The sentiment is familiar. That to be against evil, after it has come to a punctuated end, is an inability. Many believe that this will happen with the genocide of Palestinians. Those who stood by silently at the bombs, bullets, and disease annihilated the population of Gaza will come to condemn it, will come to rewrite their silence. Those who cheered it on, justified it, will come to collect their accolades for the eventual moral repositioning. That part, oh man, this is why I fucking despise and hate and loathe and truly encourage all of you to feel the same way towards liberal Zionists like Peter Beinart, like Sam Cedar, like Emma Vigeland, like the Vanguard, like Hal Kalinske, like all these fucking proponents, normalizers, sympathizers, justifiers of the existence of the Zionist entity through, a democratic future or whatever. Those that justify settler colonialism because, well, so many Europeans live there now, what are we going to do? The settler colonial project has been so successful that we had to reward it with its continued existence in one form or another. Preferably one where they could pretend that it's progress, aka the mimicking of the U.S. settler colonial project itself. Because they normalize that, because that's become a reality to them. In fact, they benefit from it, right? These are colonizers, these are settlers that we're talking about. There's a reason why the online left is predominantly white. And don't forget, affluent. Even before streaming, even before cashing in on this, they were already affluent to begin with. They had access to this shit, to these spaces, to that education. And what do they do with it? They pretend to be on our side. They pretend to care about us. And they sell us out for the Democratic Party every single fucking time. If a genocide is not a red line for you, then what is? If Palestinian lives are not worth abandoning the Democratic Party because it might put you at risk finally, what is? Whose genocide is too much? Or how many is too much? You normalize this one, why wouldn't you normalize the next one? You normalize one, why wouldn't you normalize two? Because we have to support the Democratic Party 2 genocide in the future because the Republican Party might commit 3 genocides. And that would make you evil if you don't vote for the 2 genocides. Because 3 is worse than 2. And you wouldn't want to be a bad person, right? Because a liberal is always a self-righteous pillar of morality, ethics, rationality. We are the radicals. We are the fringe. We are the irrational. We are unrealistic in our desires to end genocide, in our desires to feed the hungry, to protect children. We are doing too much. We ask for too much. We demand for too much. We are childlike in our desires. Every single fucking time the same narrative gets spit about us. When all we do is yearn for a fucking better world and try to build it. Even within the confines of what is acceptable. I had to fucking play pretend. I had to celebrate the small fucking victories because I know it has real impact on people's lives, but I know that it's not enough. I know it's not enough. And we're in the fucking belly of the beast, as hard as it is for us and as difficult as things get. We're so comfortable in comparison to the countries that we exploit. The countries that we abandon, the people of the international proletariat that give us the luxuries that we have, the clothing, the technology. I'm not in a fucking good mood this morning. But these liberal Zionists, the way that they're able to shift the narrative to suddenly, no, yeah, you know, I'm hypercritical of the Zionist entity. Now I'm a little bit more aggressive with my criticism. So you have to accept me as an ally. And you have to listen to me because I'm a Jewish voice. Other Jewish people will listen to me. We went over how John Stewart and Peter Beinart, just like Adam Friedland, centering Jewish feelings and existence and their reality as the majority, the vast majority of Jewish people. The vast majority, essentially every single Jewish institution is Zionist. Even those that are critical of it are not anti-Zionist. And so they try to bastardize. They try to manipulate and smear and muddy the waters on what it means to be anti-Zionist. We've seen Sam Cedar do this. And he's upheld by, large voices like Hassan Piker as a true Jewish ally. But we've seen how he has tried to change the definition of anti-Zionism to mean anti-apartheid. Apartheid is a tool of settler colonialism. Once you rid yourself of it, but not settler colonialism, you end up in the situation that we have with South Africa, where the European colonizers still maintain control of everything that matters. Resources, land, the fucking companies, the infrastructure, they still control it all. Oh, but now you could date whoever you want. Now we can all vote. Because it doesn't fucking matter, right? In comparison to who really controls and maintains power. And we'll always have the creeping, the traitors of the working class, those that align with whiteness, waiting at the wings to once again rise up. The South will rise up. The Afrikaners will rise up, waiting not so patiently with violence in their mind to inflict damage to once again put us in our fucking place, which is beneath them, because they might be poor, they might be working class, hell, they even might be middle class, but at least they're not black, at least they're not brown, at least they're not Asian, at least they're not X, lo que quieras. At least they're not you. And so they can unite in their whiteness. Their children might get fucking diseases because they're anti-vaxxers. Their children might go hungry because they can't find fucking work. But you can't blame white God, and you can't blame his vessels, his millionaire vessels on earth. You gotta point at the people that suffer more than you, because it's easier. Believers of this point to recent rhetorical pivots by governments and public personalities in the US-backed Israeli starvation of the Palestinians. Over July and August, we were inundated with statements of condemnation, demands of letting aid in, and incest podcasts as images of dead, emaciated Palestinians, especially children, have been difficult to justify and ignore. I mean, Piers Morgan, who we'll cover shortly, was a prime example of that, right? Suddenly now it's too much. He hasn't put a number quite on how many children should or were sacrificing. He hasn't put a number how many people should be starving quite yet. But there was one. He hasn't said it publicly, but there was a tipping point, where he has to pretend to be human. Since then, a quiet has set in. And in that quiet is the loud, resounding truth that no, not everyone will have or even pretend to have moral clarity on Gaza. This is because Gaza reveals a primary contradiction. It unearths the foundational lie of our current world order and its governing morality. What have I been saying about the primary contradiction not being fucking capitalism, but settler colonialism? Miss me with that fucking class reductionary bullshit. Because even under socialism or democratic socialism, they're still going to be racist as fuck. Most of the world, by every measure, is already against the extermination of the Palestinians. Hundreds of thousands continue to flock to their streets across the world, demanding an end to the genocide and the occupation. And fuck all those opportunistic organizations who coordinate with the pigs, who channel that frustration, and just it evaporates. Kwame Ture taught us about the difference between organizing and mobilizing, and some of these organizations are obsessed with simply mobilizing, because it looks fucking good, because you could take some dope ass photos, because you can invite some fucking dumbass streamers on to just spew slogans, because they can't be bothered to actually write a fucking speech that might encourage people to organize and to directly invest themselves in combating the system instead of voting for the Democratic Party again and again. Despite the third parties whose work you try to steal from. The overwhelming majority of the world's governments support an immediate ceasefire. Many major US academic groups have come out to condemn the Israeli campaign. Over 250 media outlets across 17 countries staged a front page protest of Israel's targeting and massacring of Palestinian journalists. Major human rights groups have called what is happening to the Palestinians a genocide, and the biggest academic association of genocide scholars just passed a resolution coming to the same conclusion. These examples are, of course, a drop in a bucket showing just how much of a moral consensus there already is on what is happening to the Palestinians. There isn't a blindness to the horrors that have been live streamed to us every single day for 2 years. And so this idea that all evil eventually becomes undeniable, that every genocide or slaughter eventually reaches the point where we all nod in agreement that yes, that was wrong. Yes, we were against it. Becomes a sort of comfortable blanket. If you wait long enough, everyone will suddenly have grown a conscience and they will become better human beings that we should be aligning with, that we should forgive, that we should accept into our coalition. Fuck that. We must mark these fucking people for the rest of their lives as genocide normalizers. We must mark these fucking people for the rest of their lives as justifying settler colonialism and its unavoidable conclusion, which is the genocide, the extermination, the ethnic and cultural cleansing of the indigenous population. That is what settler colonialism always requires. At what pace and in what time frame may differ, but it's still the conclusion. It is a prerequisite. Acknowledging that the opposite is more likely is not only a terrifying indictment of people, institutions, and ideals we believe in fundamentally, but also is an unwilling confrontation with what our immediate present and our future are being molded into. I feel like every fucking paragraph, no matter the length, is so goddamn profound. Let me reread that and then I'll jump. Man, I thought this was going to be a quicker read. I'm not going to lie. It's on me, but here we go. Acknowledging that the opposite is more likely is not only a terrifying indictment of people, institutions, and ideals we believe in fundamentally, but also is an unwilling confrontation with what our immediate present and our future are being molded into. In that aspect, the molding aspect. The fact that the Democratic Party did not completely crumble in their support, in their using of the Zionist entity as a proxy for this genocide of Palestinians, the fact that we had so-called leftists, especially white leftists, still telling you to vote for Kamala Harris, still talking about the lesser two evils while it carries out a genocide. That is the molding. That's when we talk about normalizing. Because it's acceptable to vote for the Democratic Party, even if they commit a genocide. They're personally normalizing that. What will they normalize in the future? What will be acceptable in the future? What are they going to condition us to accept later on? Because it doesn't stop here. It never just stops here. What is the next stage? What is the next horrific event that we'll have to accept? In fact, we will have to embrace the perpetrators of said horror because something horrific might occur. Because the Republican Party might take control. They did either way. You sacrifice your humanity to prevent the Republican Party to win, and they did either way. What the fuck does that make you now? Who are you now? How can we ever trust you again? But these same fucking faces are still out here, still being allowed to pretend that they're fucking human beings, to pretend that they're on our side, to pretend that they're a part of the left. How are we allowing this? How is it acceptable for these bastards to normalize genocide and pretend that they're not reactionaries, pretend they're not part of the right? Because they're cool with trans people, because they're cool with increasing public housing, because, oh, no. That's all cute and that's all essential. Cool. But the one red line that we should all agree, human beings, regardless of your political position, exterminating the people is wrong. And you should not align yourself or support those who are conducting that extermination, either directly or indirectly. But they're still out here and they're the biggest fucking faces and names on the online fucking left space. Don't wonder why I fucking hate them. Don't ask me why I despise them. It should be fucking evident. And again, my apologies that I'm in a fucking bad mood. And I want to joke around. I want to be fucking. I want to have a good time. I do. I enjoy doing this. But I never want to undersell. I never want to downplay how much we should truly fucking hate liberals. Because they're the ones that rot our consciousness. They're the ones that rot our fucking hearts. They're the ones that make us comfortable in the numbness as we lose our humanity. And they're the ones that will give you the most eloquent justification and explanation of why this is necessary. Of why selling your fucking soul to the Democratic Party is the only way to save Palestinians from the genocide that was started during the Democratic Party's regime. And they're the logical ones. They're the rational ones. There are fucking intellectuals. The belief in eventual moral clarity lets us believe that time itself will sort out moral failure, that history has a correcting function. But Gaza is not Rwanda. It is not Srebrenica. I always struggle with that one. I need to know how to pronounce that properly. I used to read that in fucking Chris Edge's work. It was always so fucking annoying. How do you say it? Yeah. Srebrenica. Srebrenica. Let's see.
Srebrenica.
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 Srebrenica. There you go. Damn. Just want to be respectful, you know? Sometimes I'm respectful. All right. Where are we? 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. The very nature of the existence of Palestinians post-Nakba makes it a story that cannot be neatly packaged into good and evil by the very endowers of power who believe in and perpetrate the right of that evil to exist. There is too much invested in maintaining that is not what it is. There's too much at stake to admit fully that this is what it is. And that's still assuming that those who wield power in this world even care. We see how these fucking liberals will pretend to cry, will show these fucking crocodile tears, and turn right around and tell you why you must vote for the Democratic Party. When the Democratic leadership time and time again tells you they don't fucking care. They're not going to change their approach to the Zionist entity time and time again. And these fucking liberals with crocodile tears in their eyes will say no. We'll push them left. I mean, literally, anyone with a conscience was leaving Biden's regime in protest because they weren't being heard in their opposition, in their restraint towards this genocide, and they were leaving. So if everyone that has a conscience is leaving his administration, his regime, and he's running for re-election, what makes you believe that in the second term, when he has even less to lose, that he would have changed anything? Anything besides symbolic fucking olive branches or restraint. In July, the UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese released From Economy of Occupation to Economy of Genocide, a report tracing the sharp rise in global cooperative investment in Israel since October 2023. Investment in Israel since October 2023. The findings are blunt. When Israel's assault has devastated Palestinians' lives and land, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange soared 213%, adding 225.7 billion in market gains. Albanese identified 48 corporate actors along with their webs of subsidiaries, licenses, and partners across weapons, tech, finance, construction, and energy, profiting directly from the war. Investment is surging not in spite of Israel's actions, but because of them. Genocide is good for fucking business. Genocide is good for fucking business, but capitalism has allowed us to become civilized. Capitalism has allowed us to, put man on the moon, to advance us like never before. We are forever indebted to capitalism for saving us from the savagery, from the wilderness. It's a fucking death cult. And nowhere is this more visible than in the boom in Israeli drones, cybersecurity, and AI. American tech companies have poured money in precisely because of how these tools have been field tested on Palestinians, especially in Gaza. This genocide is proof of concept. This genocide is proof of concept for this fucking death technology that they all aspire to obtain to keep us in check, which apparently they don't got to do fucking much because we'll sit idly by. As journalist Anthony Lowenstein argues in the Palestinian Laboratory, this is not new. For decades, Palestinians have been providing ground where Israel and its partners refine technologies of surveillance and repression, machinations of social and civilian control that are then exported regionally and globally to governments that otherwise offer restraint, lamentations on the conditions and suffering of the Palestinians. Yeah, it's easy and it's cheap and it's convenient to say, oh, who are we, the US, those within the belly of the beast, to criticize, let's say, China or other countries that somehow have gained the infamy, the notoriety to oppose the US, but still align with the Zionist entity. Mexico using Israeli technology for repression, but we have to ignore that. Because Claudia is doing great fucking work. Scheibon is doing great fucking work, so we got to ignore that shit. We got to downplay it. We can't be critical of China. We can't be critical of China and their economic ties to the Zionist entity, because that'd be hypocritical of us. Meanwhile, fucking Maduro is over here talking about the 12 tribes and damning the Zionist entity. We got our criticism of him too, but holy fuck, there's levels to this shit. Let's be honest. And then there is the ideological and political investment. How could the United States, the leading perpetrator of the genocide of Palestinians and regional destabilization, ever come to recognize its own crimes when it has yet to do, even in a modicum of the same for the indigenous peoples it annihilated to build itself? How could it offer a mea culpa when every institution, from education to media to government to corporation and tech, have a vested and financial ideological interest in the eradication of Palestinians? Understand completely that the Zionist entity is following in the footsteps of this settler colonial project in the United States. Lebensraum. Hitler literally quoting Manifest Destiny in Mein Kampf. The rest of these European savages, these animals that seek nothing but destruction and conquest, look here to see how it's fucking done. And we've normalized this shit. We say vote fucking harder, vote better, vote ethically. History here can serve as instruction. The first genocide of the 20th century against the Hiro and Nama people was carried out by the German Empire. It was there that the concentration camps was perfected. Germany only acknowledges crimes a century later in 2004 with a carefully hedged apology and no real accountability. What do we say? White people always dodge what? Accountability. So of course their fucking governments do the fucking same. To this day, only 30 countries recognize the Armenian genocide committed by the Ottoman Empire. And the largest progressive left of center, whatever the fuck organization, news outlet, the Young Turks, through Cenk Uygur, an Armenian genocide denier, and their token, Anna Kasparian, have conducted the greatest fucking whitewashing of a genocidal group ever seen. The Young Turks. It's all fucking connected. The propaganda is there. We talk about Hasbro, but we don't talk about the Young Turks. How many of the fucking political figures online that we see, Hassan Piker, Sam Cedar, Emma Vigeland, Michael Brooks, you name them, that were all in some way or another financially connected to TYT? The Humanist Report. The fucking, you name them, bro. Jimmy Dore included, that were all in one way connected financially with the Young Turks. And we're surprised when they normalize genocide. When they've been normalizing the whitewashing of history. And this list is long. Entire nations have faced expulsions and exterminations, their memory buried or contested, while their killers were never condemned. Recognition, if and when it comes at all, is always partial and delayed, with a sanitized retrospective meant to ease the guilt of those who were complicit. This is all fucking liberal Zionists have been doing. This is all liberal Zionists have been doing. Trying to ease the pain of these fucking Zionists, to pat them in the back and say everything's gonna be okay. You can still wear the cross, the Star of David. We'll never have to denounce it. I was thinking about this last time. Do you think the Jewish community that is grossly and vastly Zionist will ever have shame in the Star of David? The way that we force people to have shame in any depiction, variation of the swastika, whether or not it's related to Nazi Germany. Oh, it's got a little swiggle at the end. It's a star. It's Indian. It's Hindu. Fuck that. We say nope. We're good. We're not even gonna let you get comfortable with that shit. I mean, are we foolish enough? Are we delusional enough to pretend that anything remotely close is going to happen with the Star of David, despite it being plastered on the Zionist flag, despite it being burnt onto Palestinians, sketched into their fucking skin? Do we have any semblance of irrational delusion to allow us to believe that the Star of David will be viewed just as an evil symbol of death and destruction as the swastika? Of course not. Not even that. Not even a small victory like that is granted to those that oppose this, not to the Palestinians. Because you're fucking anti-Semitic if you say something like that. If you oppose that imagery, that symbol. The Holocaust may be the standard of that which will we all universally condemn and compare to, but it is exceptional in that by design. And I don't even think it was that until the Zionist project really got and started to co-opt the Holocaust. Again, we say fuck Norm Finkelstein. Norm Finkelstein is perfect example of a white savior. He hates Palestinians when they overshadow him, when they have the fucking spotlight and it's not him speaking on their behalf. But the Holocaust industry is a must fucking read. The Holocaust industry is a must fucking read. It even helps you understand how the fucking Zionist entity is anti-Semitic. Not that that should be the focus, but it's a great fucking read. It's essential reading. It really is. It pains me to say that. It fucking does. I'm petty as hell. I despise how this man is glorified and excused for his fucking reactionary and backwards takes. But it is his cowardness. It is his white savior hatred towards Palestinians that I despise the most. At the risk of sounding Huntingtonarian, I don't even know what she means by that. Wow. Huntingtonian, excuse me. I was thinking Huntington Beach, I'm not gonna lie. At risk of sounding Huntingtonian, I need to know what that is. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. The Clash of Civilizations. Okay. A theory in which, well, this is the AI overview. Hmm. This is something definitely that we need to put on the reading list. A thesis that people's cultural and religious identities will be the primary source of conflict in the post-Cold War world. The American political scientist Samuel P. Huntington argued that future wars would be fought not between countries but between cultures. It is proposed in a 1992 lecture of the American Enterprise Institute, which was then developed in a 1993 Foreign Affairs article titled Clash of Civilizations in response to his former student Francis Fukuyama's 1992 book The End of History and The Last Man. Huntington later expanded this thesis in a 1996 book, The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of the World Order. The phrase itself was earlier used by Albert Camus in 1946. Interesting. Huntington began his thinking by surveying the diverse theories about the nature of global politics in the post-Cold War period. Some theorists and writers argue that human rights, liberal democracy, and the capitalist free market economy had become the only remaining ideological alternative for nations in the post-Cold War world. Specifically, Francis Fukuyama argued that the world had reached the end of history in the Hegelian sense. Huntington believed that while the age of ideology had ended, the world had only reverted to a normal state of affairs characterized by cultural conflict. In his thesis, he argued that the primary axis of conflict in the future will be along cultural lines. An extension, he posits, that the, the concept of different civilizations at the highest category of cultural identity will become increasingly useful in analyzing the potential for conflict. At the end of his 1983 Foreign Affairs article, Clash of Civilization, Huntington writes, "This is not to advocate the desirability of conflict between civilizations. It is set forth descriptive hypothesis as to what the future may be like." Interesting. I mean, I've heard that phrase before, but I've never paid it any mind. There is a core civilizational logic that sustains Zionism beyond Israel. Erasure is recast as survival, dispossession as self defense. In this framework, the genocide in Gaza is not an aberration, but it is a logical outcome. It is not unspeakable, but necessary, even if sometimes tragic and crossing a line. I mean, what did Bernie Sanders' former lover said, Golda Meir? We'll never forgive the Palestinians for making us kill their children. The rationality is I mean, when they were talking about, well, we're doing it for civilization. We're civilizing them, or we're saving their souls. Sometimes I wish they were just fucking honest. Without the dismantling of ideological foundation, there would be no punctuated end to the evil itself and thus no moral correction. And that's why the repression is layered so aggressively, propaganda disguised as journalism, algorithmic suppression, the shadow ban of Palestinian voices, governments criminalizing protests, schools and workplace punishing dissent while protecting those who cheer extermination. What we have been witnessing is the system laid bare, the system designed not just to kill, but to erase even the naming of the killing. Because even that is anti Semitic. Even that is too much. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I gotta check what's going on over here. I was just complaining about the barking outside. You never know what's something worth taking serious or not. When there's fucking dogs that have no sense, or excuse me, owners who teach their dogs no sense. If moral clarity does come, it will not be against the system that carried out the extermination. It will be against the images, the photographs of starving children, the bodies pulled from rubble, tragedies easy to lament once the killing has moved out of view. It will not bring reparations or accountability or the dignity of Palestinian political existence. It will not recognize the resistance of a people who fought annihilation. Instead, it will package Palestinians as a pitiable tragedy. Stripped of politics and struggle. Excuse me. we look at indigenous people here today in the belly of the beast, and now we could be sympathetic towards them. Now we could grant them some sense of political power and autonomy. Now that they're no longer a direct physical threat to the U.S. settler colonial project. But when they were, it was very different. And once they were adequately subdued and oppressed and marginalized, then the attention of the settler colonial project turned from the indigenous population to the indigenous population that is stole from Africa. Because numerically, now they're the threat. New Africans, an internal colony within the United States, has in some ways avoided the necessary extermination of being indigenous, but in others has also faced that burden, that oppression, that struggle, and that targeting by the state. Not to mention the so-called civilized indigenous tribes who partook in the enslavement of Africans. But the stripping of political power, the stripping of the reality of armed resistance, like liberals are the ones that carry this flag to the forefront. Because liberals will acknowledge history, the atrocities committed towards them. But exclude, downplay, whitewash the resistance that indigenous people, that African people carried out directly against the settler colonial state, the project, and those that made it up. Shirimacha, I don't mean to be dismissive. And I'm not saying that the potential isn't there. What I'm saying is, for example, the Charlie Kirk thing, immediately I assumed, and I thought that most people on the left, I'm not talking about fucking white rat libs, most people on the left assumed that the perpetrator was also a reactionary. I didn't think it was going to be some fucking lefty. It was more likely for it to be some fucking Mossad conspiracy theory. That fucking Kyle Kalinske, the white women, and I don't even know the name of the show, like Fed Up, I don't know what the fuck it's called, are pushing, than it being a leftist. Because I almost instinctively knew that it was somebody on the fringe right, whether it was a groiper, whatever the fuck you want to call it. How long down that list would you have to get to say, oh, it was an indigenous person resisting this white Christian nationalist propagandist? How long down the list of possible suspects would you need to go before you think of an indigenous resistance group, armed resistance groups, before you think that they took the shot? Do you think the state could push that narrative the way that they so desperately try to push a narrative that it was a leftist, that it was a trans person? That's what I'm referring to as a threat. Whether we like it or not, the fringe right has been, at least for the last few decades, the biggest threat to quote unquote national security. And they try to downplay that shit. because it's a cannibal. It's a cannibal. This shit's a cannibalistic. Who is gonna bring down if we're talking from within? I'm not dismissing or disrespecting Palestinian resistance forces. I'm saying if it happens from within, and when we put aside the external pressures, who will bring down the Zionist entity from within? And I mean, it's going to be the rabid Zionist right, because they're too fucking loud, they're too bombastic, they're too shameless. Golda Meir, Bernie Sanders' former lover, literally said, "You're being too loud. Stop bringing cameras around to our new fucking settlements. Be quiet and do as much as possible." These idiots, these rabid true believers, are proud of their barbarity. At least the liberal Zionists don't have shame, but are aware that they need to pretend to have shame in order to gain the sympathy of the world, in order for their lie to be sold properly. The rabid Zionist is shameless through and through, even unwilling, uncompromising to pretend shame, to pretend to understand what shame is. And we're seeing the Zionist entity has never been in a worse state in terms of as its global standing, right? Sure, as we were reading, a lot of it is just performative, but nonetheless, if it would have been Bernie Sanders who would have been the prime minister, a possibility of the Zionist project, he would not have handled it in the exact same PR way. He would not have exposed the atrocities in the same manner or bragged about them as Benjamin Netanyahu in his regime. But Bernie Sanders' objective of disarming, dismantling, and ridding himself of the Palestinian indigenous population would have been the same as Benjamin Netanyahu and his former lover Golda Meir. That's just a reality. That is the requirement of settler colonialism. The Twitch chat, Redmond Berry, 1975. Camus. That's right. I always say, like, it's Camus. You're right. Keeping the Twitch chat alive. Thank you. I know I haven't been very responsive to the chat on YouTube today. My apologies. Just I'm like 80% back to my full health, but I'm so a little grumpy that I haven't been getting the sleep I wanted because I ran out of NyQuil because I was drinking it like it was fucking Dayquil. All right. We're about wrapping this up right here. Where are we? Yes, literally, essentially the last paragraph. Gaza buried the myth that everyone is eventually against evil. The truth is this: Israel and the United States can cage Palestinians and starve them of food, water, and light. They can burn families alive, execute fathers before their children, mark mothers with numbers, and call it order for Jewish safety. And still, it won't matter. It won't matter how closely these scenes mirror history's darkest crimes because outrage was never about the method. And so Gaza will not be remembered as a place where the world finally stood hand in hand and turned against unfathomable evil, but rather the place where the world chose to let it reign. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Sana Saeed is absolutely masterful in her writing, in her description of reality, and I'm sorry that you had to write that. I'm sorry that I'm sorry that the responsibility of speaking truth, um, that burden was placed on you, and that we have failed time and time again and are failing today. And that we're too fucking unorganized and being misled by opportunists, by Zionist normalizers to do anything significant to bring this to an end. I'm not fucking Noah Samson calling for direct action when I'm not engaging in it. What I'm saying is, organizationally, we're not even fucking there to do something that would even fucking matter outside of adventurism. Maybe it's good that's going to be a shorter stream today. I don't know. Lana Thorbillo got the mods active today. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Chat, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't, and you're not active in the chat, go ahead and hit the like. I'm not usually this much of a fucking bummer. I don't know what side on the bed I woke up this morning. But like I said, maybe it's good that it's a shorter stream today. All right, we got about an hour and 30 minutes left. So let's just jump on this. Maybe I'll maybe I'll get a little bit although I doubt it. Better spirits. You know what's super frustrating is, and I've been very honest and upfront about this, is I used to tell people on the left, hey, check out Destiny, watch his work. Not because I agree with him in any regard, but because I think he presents and argues the liberal position, the center right position better than anyone. Knew he was a weirdo, but it wasn't until it was revealed that he was a consent violator, and now more recently revealed that he was allegedly, and I had to say alleged, unfortunately, exchanging sexually explicit content with a minor. And for whatever reason, Pierce Morgan still platforms him. For whatever reason, Taylor Lorenz still legitimizes him by speaking to him. And Anna Kasparian does a great job here at calling him out for being a disgusting, despicable human being. And it fucking pains me to have to admit that in this debate, he holds the correct position. And it makes me wonder what the fuck those that claim to be leftists, because Destiny does not even claim to be left anymore. He doesn't want to be associated with the left, are doing and compromising and bending the knee and accepting the reactionary narrative. And whatever they put out, even as they question it, what they're doing is yearning for, calling for a better FBI. That is what this online left is doing. Calling for a better FBI. They're upset that Kash Patel is incompetent as the head of the FBI. These motherfuckers yearn for the days of Hoover. And that's where we're at. Let's get to it.
Anna Kasparian, what was your immediate reaction when you heard about what had happened to Charlie Kirk and presumably at some stage saw the video?
I will say this. If you claim to be part of the left and your immediate reaction was not celebration, was not dancing, was not laughing, was not applauding the removal of a Klansman, the removal of a Christian white nationalist. You are not to be trusted. Your sympathies, your aspiration, your proximity to whiteness is a threat to marginalized people, to the global majority, to those in opposition and victims of white supremacy. Just as those that normalize the genocide of Palestinians should be forever marked, those that forget even shedding a tear for a Christian white nationalist, forget crying over him. But those that denounce justice should be at the very least seen with a side eye. Because these are the very same people that would denounce Samir and call for the incarceration and probably would have normalized the death penalty of Nat Turner and any indigenous resistance who understood what would be required to stop the invasion and extermination of the indigenous people. And unfortunately, I have to be vague.
Well, it started with absolute shock, followed by despair, followed by fear of what this means for the country and how things could potentially and very likely devolve further. You know, Charlie and I had multiple debates and conversations, and what I really appreciated about Charlie, and I've said this multiple times, was that even though we had disagreements, he had a huge platform and was inviting to people like me to make my case to a completely different audience about my point of view, why I believe things that I believe. And that's what is supposed to make America great. The ability to live in a pluralistic society where people have differences of opinion, but can engage with one another in good faith and make their case. You know, I was recently on Tucker Carlson's show for a pretty lengthy interview. And after that interview ended, Tucker Carlson let me know that Charlie Kirk reached out to him and said that he loved the interview and would like to have me on his show. That's the kind of person Charlie Kirk was. Now, that's not to take away.
Anna KKK Kasparian showing up to defend the integrity of Christian white nationalists. And to all those on the online left, all those white men like the Vanguard, white women like Emma Vigeland, who suddenly want to finger wag at Anna Kasparian, who want to profit off of calling her out for what she is. Why weren't you calling her out when she was being a token, when she was aiding and abetting the whitewashing of the genocide of her very own people, when she decided to work for a Turkish Armenian genocide denier in Cenk Uygur, who named the network the Young Turks after the group that started the fucking genocide of her very own people? Ask yourself why Anna Kasparian, the most famous, definitely politically, the most famous Armenian woman, is not celebrated in the Armenian community. Because they know what she is. Because they know what she is, and all these white liberals gave her a fucking pass in being a comprador, in being a fucking token, and being a fucking vendida sellout, and helping aid in the whitewashing of genocide of her very own people. Because she was saying things they agreed with. When Emma Vigeland was confronted that Anna Kasparian was a fucking turf, that she was transphobic, Emma Vigeland, Sam Cedar, the whole crew over there pushed back and tried to ignore it and downplay it as much as possible. Only when it became popular enough to hate on her for it, rightfully so, as any bigot should be, Then they switched up. Then they switched up. Literally, Lana, he was a good person because he put me on his show. Yeah. Because he's willing to have the conversation. He's willing to have the dialogue. Remember, Anna Kasparian is somebody that gets nervous.
From the thing.
Excuse me. Nervous when she's forced to talk to black, brown, non-white people. Because they might accuse her of being racist. They might see her for what she fucking truly is.
Things that I vehemently disagreed with him on. But engaging in violence is an act of cowardice. It's what losers do. It's what people who are unable to articulate their arguments effectively resort to. That's my take on what happened to Charlie Kirk. And I have to say, the video.
I mean, I think this is probably why she's anti-communist. Because Anna Kasparian's like, what the communists did to the Third Reich, it's unforgivable. They're cowards.
Video of him getting killed was one of the most disgusting, horrific things I've seen, and I can't get that image out of my mind. It's seared in my mind.
She should have seen me reenacted then. I think I did a fairly great job at being honest and representing the spirit of that event. The thing is, it's like, yeah, I want to be very clear. I absolutely denounce what happened to Charlie Kirk. I want to be clear about that. I denounce it. I never want to see white on white violence. I never want to see reactionary on reactionary violence. It's heartbreaking when that happens. It's like seeing a family fight. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. It's hard. It's like, where are the parents? Like, what's going on with this community? It's tragic, really. It's like we need to help these people because they're cannibalizing themselves. They're lost in the wilderness. They don't know how to grow their own food, their own substance, and we need to aid and abet them. We need to relocate them and provide, concentrated housing for them to learn how to be civilized. That is my hope and desires for the white community. That somehow we may teach them how to be rational, logical, civilized human beings. And I'm willing to support any bill and political push for their own safety, because we need to protect them from themselves. That's what people aren't realizing here, and I need to express this with the utmost heartfelt, genuine honesty, is that what we need to do as a global majority is protect white people from themselves. So I'm thinking about starting a fund, stop white on white violence, just because I'm sick and tired of seeing them hurt themselves. If somebody were to continuously be biting their fingers, you would eventually, put some gloves on them, or maybe like a mouthpiece or something. And we need to find a government institution to do that for all this white on white violence. It's tragic. I'm at a loss for words. I've cried on stream before for Charlie Kirk, so I can never be accused of spreading hate or being unsympathetic to such a pillar of the white community, an example of white masculinity. So please, again, hashtag stop white hate. Stop white on white crime. It's destroying this nation, and it's what's holding us back from the utopia that was promised to us by our founding fathers. And we don't want to fail them. We don't want to fail George W. Bush. We don't want to fail those that came to civilize. So if you want to help me in aiding the white community, and I don't know, I'm thinking about their fathers are misleading them. So, we got to step up. you know, we cannot be the stepdads. We got to be the dads that step up for the white community. So if you want to be the dad that steps up for a white child, go ahead and send super chats and send a super chat so that, you know, people can know that you care about the white community. What are we calling this? What are we calling this? Step up for there we go. Thank you, really tired, for the super chat. Stop white hate. So anyone that ever wants to check in on my streams understands that we don't spread hate around here. We spread love. But more importantly, we support white love. Brothers and sisters. That's what we do here. All right. Let's get back to it.
What is, I mean, thank you for saying what you just said. Very clear. What has been truly shocking to me, not just the murder itself, which was obviously just horrific, as was the video. And I agree, it's very hard to ever lose that image of what happened. But the reaction from young people in particular.
Now when you got that shit on repeat, I don't know about you, but I close my eyes when I see that image. It's haunting me. I toss and turn in bed, unable to sleep, mainly because I continue to hit the replay button. So that might be my fault. But it is. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
On the left, I have to say, I have found absolutely sickening. The glee, the celebration, the TikToks, the general, the behavior of this rap band, Bob Villain, and then the lying about the fact they were clearly celebrating in the most despicable manner what had happened to Charlie Kirk. You know,
it was so gross. You know, the things I've seen online of people celebrate, disgusting. I saw this fucking beaner get up, get out of his seat, and reenact the horrific events that occurred that day. People talk about September 11th. I talked about September 10th. That's the true day that will live forever in infamy. I mean, sure, September 11th, countless of people perished in the attacks on the World Trade Center. But if we're being honest and genuine, all those lives just they don't equal the significance of true white leadership that Charlie Kirk represented, right? In a lot of ways, all those souls that perished on 9/11 were uplifting and pushing Charlie Kirk forward in his pursuit of a Christian white nation. And for that, in a lot of ways, if you think about it, his untimely and unfortunate passing was worse than 9/11. It was worse than 9/11, if you think about that. If you think of all those American lives that were uplifting, upholding, and protecting Charlie Kirk, think about it. They were protecting him. Now, unfortunately, they took a coffee break. But how are they supposed to know? How are they supposed to know what was going to happen? All right, let's continue.
I've got no problem with people appraising Charlie Kirk's record and criticizing him where they feel he was wrong about stuff. That's fine. That happens to every public figure when they die. But to gleefully celebrate the cold-blooded execution of a 31-year-old father of two, I just found crossed every line of humanity. And
it's just crazy that all he was a 31-year-old father of two. That's all he was known for. Isn't that wild? That's all he was ever known for, being a 31-year-old father of two. Like, that's how he gained popularity and notoriety, by being a 31-year-old father of two. Nothing else. Like, don't look. That is what we need to focus on.
I guess, Anna, you know, a lot of these young people. You've met a lot of these young people on the left. What is going on with young people on the left? And I'm not for a moment saying there aren't young people on the right that have similar mindsets about their opponents. But what is going on with these young people on the woke left who genuinely look at that and think this is something to celebrate?
Yeah, never mind that the actual shooter was, and look, man, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about the threat, the real fucking threat of technically Christian nationalists, but specifically the Mormon aspect of things. I'm working on something a little bit, but the Mormon threat to uphold Christian white nationalism is, and I know some Christians don't think that Mormons are part of their group. They're not part of they don't get to sit in their table. Well, they do. The way that Utah is ran for all intents and purposes by Utah's a theocracy. Let's be honest. The Mormons run that shit. So this whole idea that like it was a Mossad hit, this and that. Not of the Mormons. Not of the Mormons. Without the Mormon approval, it's not going to happen. So that's a conversation that we need to have, is the fact that Mormons believe that this right here, talking about settler colonialism, is the promised land. Zion. They see that shit, Utah, as Zion. And everyone's downplaying this aspect of it. And it's like, bro, can we not for once understand the layers and complexities of Christian white nationalism and the significance of Mormons in it? Mormons view Utah as their fucking Zion. They control Utah at every governmental level. There's a reason. Is Utah still, I know for a while it was, like Utah was the least like non-white state. I'm down to be corrected, but for a while I remember that Utah was the whitest state you could be at. That is not done by fucking accident. That aspect of it is downplayed grossly.
Well, I'm going to answer the question, but let me just note that there are different factions on the left. And I think the way that this is kind of being discussed in a way that just kind of generalizes everyone on the left is kind of unfair. But putting that aside, I do think that we have an overall problem. I think what happened is a symptom of a bigger issue that we have, not just in this country, but I'm seeing it happen globally, where there's just this dehumanization of people based on their political views. And on top of that, the devaluing of human life, right? I mean, we've been seeing images of people being butchered, children being butchered endlessly on social media over the last nearly 2 years. Prior to that, I mean, the rhetoric that devalues human life, I think, has played a role into it. But also, I just think that there's this dumb idea that all you need to do is like get rid of or take out some of the prominent figures on the political side of the aisle that you disagree with, and that'll somehow solve the issue. No, that doesn't solve the issue. What it does is it makes the situation in various countries where this type of political violence plays out far worse. Now you're hearing talk of retaliation in a violent way. When it comes to the Trump administration, you're hearing policies that are being proposed that would limit the legitimate political speech of Americans. I am concerned about that. What that disgusting murderer did is he pushed for this country to devolve further. And I wish that cooler heads would prevail, but at the same time, I don't begrudge people who are angry. I mean, that poor wife and her 2 children witnessed Charlie Kirk get shot and killed in the neck.
Another aspect that isn't talked about is, again, when we talk about white feminism, that's Charlie Kirk's wife. That is the epitome of white feminism. That I will stand by the right side, to the right, of my fucking grand wizard husband. And if something were to happen to him, unfortunately, because we have to be sympathetic and humanize grand wizards, or else we're just as bad as them, then we are part of a society advanced enough, tolerant enough to allow his wife to step up and fill his empty shoes. Because that's what white feminism is. The women of the Klan, the women of the KKK, were upset that they weren't allowed to be regular members of the Klan. So they created their own Klan. And the men in the Klan kind of, looked at them dismissively, but depended on them for a lot of the bureaucratic work, a lot of the fundraising and background shit. While they're out being boys, boys will be boys. So this aspect of white feminism, of white women's allegiance to white supremacy, as Anna Kasparian is presenting here, again downplayed. Again, it's downplayed. she is heartbroken that Charlie Kirk is no longer around to advocate and push forth Christian white nationalism on the political stage. That he's no longer indoctrinating white children to pursue whiteness, to pursue Christian white nationalism. That's what she's heartbroken over. And she sees it upon herself to continue his mission. But we're supposed to be sympathetic towards her. Just white women go through too much. White women go through too much. And I take a sip, a drink, a toast, if you will, to their hardship. I will never understand the suffering of white women. And neither will use chat, so show some respect. A moment of silence. There it was.
I don't begrudge her at all for being furious. I can't even imagine where my headspace would be at right now if that happened to my husband.
Right.
Well, we know where your headspace is at when... That's going to be a little crude. I was going to go a little too... We know where Anna Kasparian's headspace is when she's being offered money in exchange to normalize the genocide of her people. So wherever Anna Kasparian's headspace would be at, if some tragedy were to befall her husband, the question is, how much money would be required for her to start working alongside the perpetrators of her husband's misfortune? You know what I mean? Am I being clear enough? If someone were to do something to Anna Kasparian's husband, she would be heartbroken until and depending on the price, on the paycheck, on the zeros and the commas on the paycheck. Then it might be a little bit different for Anna Kasparian. Then she might see the humanity of those that harmed her husband, because she saw the humanity in those that normalized the genocide of her people, those that denied the Armenian genocide. So I'm just saying, I understand what she's saying. She's probably correct. But let's be honest about the pricing on that.
Andrew Wilson, where were you when you heard about Charlie Kirk, and what is your view of the fallout from this?
Yeah, I was sitting with my wife watching TV. So the thing is I remember this picture circulating around of Charlie Kirk. He was debating the incoming president of the Oxford Union, and they were all smiles and handshakes. And by the next day, this guy was saying the most insane rhetoric about how he basically had it coming. So how many of these leftists have murderous intent? When we show up, to have a conversation with them. We show up to debate our views. We show up to in some way engage with them. How many of them have seething murderous intent behind their eyes, and they don't really want to do any of that? They really want you dead. And that is the biggest demonstration of that, by the way, in that one single picture. You have Anna Kasparian here, and she's talking about this. The Young Turks called Charlie Kirk a fascist how many times? The Young Turks played into this rhetoric how much?
Yo, dun dun dun. Whoa. That's what I'm talking about. Right on right, white on white violence over here. Why can't we all just come together and get along for the memory of Charlie Kirk, the spirit of Charlie Kirk, his message of unity, of white unity. Man. And for those of you that don't know, this right here, Andrew Wilson, is a proud Christian nationalist. He is P.F. Jung's good friend. And we know P.F. Jung because he is a Christian nationalist sympathizer. Just saying. It's interesting how a lot of these things just come together. But it's funny how, he's saying their intent is murderous. They have murderous intent, the people debating us. While your positions and your political agenda is nothing but murder. For those who are not white, those who are not heterosexual, those who are not Christian, those that fall outside of those norms, you throw to the wayside, if not outright target.
They went out of their way to do so. Rubin recently called him out for doing it. So
I've never called him a fascist.
hang on.
I've literally never. I don't
I
even
didn't
call
interrupt
Trump
you
a
once.
fascist.
I didn't interrupt you once, lady.
But
You'll
you
have a
can't
chance
make
to
things
talk.
up about what I've said about
You
Charlie
can talk
Kirk.
when I'm done talking.
Yo. I don't even call Donald Trump a fascist. You want a fucking gold star? You want a cookie? I am the bestest of the normalizers. Fucking A, bro. This disgusting.
Like I was respectful enough to let you do. So the thing is like, yes, they do. This network does do that, and these leftists do that, and they set all the rhetoric up in the world to make sure something like this happened, and they were dancing on the grave of this guy before he was even cold. I have tweets from Destiny which are insane. The leftists have gone off the reservation, and it's time for us to stop pretending that it's not their rhetoric which is leading to these types of assassinations, because it is. I don't want to hear about factions. All of you guys are doing this. All of you guys have the same type of rhetoric which leads to this, or the networks you work for do.
Well, Anna, let me let you respond to that before I bring Cornel.
I have never called Charlie Kirk a fascist, number one. In fact, if anything, we have received a tremendous amount. I don't remember Cenk calling Charlie Kirk a fascist.
That's fucking hilarious. He says, how about your boss? Andrew Willison says, what about your boss? And Anna Kasparian says, I don't remember Trump. I mean, Cenk, we've been saying it. Trump and Cenk Uygur have always been, you know, long lost brothers, separated at birth. But how many people did not align with Cenk Uygur when he was smearing and attacking and trying to dismantle the unionization of TYT workers? Emil Vigeland was on his side, on the boss's side. The Humanist Report was on his side. Countless of people that claim to be part of the left aligned with Cenk Trump Uygur. Remember that. That was a good little slip up. She said a lot with that slip up. Gotta love it. Gotta fucking love it. She knows who she works for.
In fact, Cenk and I got into a debate about whether or not. Hold on. I don't remember Cenk calling Charlie Kirk a fascist. He called Trump a fascist, and he and I got into a debate about that. But to lump in everyone on the left together, I don't agree with Destiny on anything these days. Destiny is totally unhinged in his rhetoric, 100%. I have been critical of Charlie Kirk's political views, but going around referring to people as Nazis, you know, turning the temperature up, I did not engage in that. So I just want you to at least be fair about what I've actually said about Charlie.
There's no actual
name calling is turning the temperature up, but actually passing legislation that targets marginalized people. That's just politics.
Reason for us to believe leftists at this point. It's very clear that while they come out with a handshake and wanting to have these conversations, they claim, right? In reality, what they're doing is they have murderous intent, and they'll celebrate you the day that you die. The next day, they'll go after your wife. Thousands of social media accounts going after her wife, or this guy's wife, after she made a speech about her poor husband. Yes, it is your side that's doing that, like it or not.
Oh, just a speech, just a poor speech, Andrew. Not her calling for vengeance. Not her calling for white vengeance. White vengeance. We're gonna get ours.
It's your side that's doing that. There's no equivalency between the right and the left on this.
Yo.
Okay, fine. You're not a leftist. I'm sorry. Are you on the left wing? Are you a Democrat? Are you more of a Democrat than you are a Republican? Do you move towards those types of issues?
I'm not a Democrat. I actually registered as an independent.
Whoa. Cha-ching. Cashing in. She goes, unaffiliated. Literally saying, where are you from, motherfucker? She's like, I'm unaffiliated. I'm a mercenary. I'm a gun for hire. I don't do this out of love and passion for the fucking gang. I do it for the fucking thrills.
Fine. You register as an independent.
Come on, you gotta at least know what my views are if you're gonna attack me.
All right, let me bring in. All right, let me bring in.
The rebranding. I'm telling you, the rebranding is perfectly suitable for moments like this. You know, these compradors, these sellouts, these tokens, they're intelligent. Don't think that they're dumb. They're spineless, but they're intelligent. They come prepared. They know where the wind's blowing.
I've been attacked by the left over the last 3 years.
All right, let me bring in.
No. I've been attacked by the left. No, let me just at least address that. I've been attacked viciously by leftists over the last 3 years because of the fact that I want to engage in this type of dialogue.
No, because you're a fucking transphobe. Now, I've been hating on you for longer than that because you're a fucking comprador. But these fucking rat libs, the white rat libs, have been after you because you're a transphobe. Not because you're trying to have dialogue, because I'm willing to have conversations. Mind you, not debates, but conversations.
Because of the fact I was willing to sit down with Charlie Kirk and with Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro, I'm willing to have conversations, and I don't go around labeling people as fascist and racist and Nazis just because I disagree with them.
Just at
least understand what my political views are. Listen, I'm not going to be blamed for what everyone in that company has to say. Anyone
in that company, bro, that's hilarious. You'd be nothing without the Young Turks. And the Armenian community would be a whole lot larger if not for the Young Turks.
One in that company has to say,
The
I'm
head
an
of that
individual.
company?
We're supposed
The
to
head of
judge
that
people
company, your
based
co-host?
on
Come on.
individuals. He did
I
not
am
go
judging you.
around
I'm
calling
judging-
Charlie Kirk
I'm
a
judging you
fascist and a
and saying
Nazi.
that you don't have good reasoning skills. If it's the case that you think, oh my
Well,
God,
I'm judging
you can't be
for
calling
being
people
so
Nazis. You
simple-minded
can't be
that
calling
you're
people Nazis. Well,
I
you
know
call your
it's
boss
calling you
does
a
all the
Nazi.
time.
Why are you making that up? You're just making
Because
it up. You're just making it
your
up.
boss-
We're
your boss
all the
has many
same. That's how
times. Your boss
simple-minded
has
you
many
are.
times.
You're all
It's not
the same.
simple-minded
Okay,
to
then
point
everyone
out
on the
the
right is just like Dylan Roof.
All right, let me
Well,
bring
we're
in
a
Cornel
company
West. I want to bring in Cornel
Shut
West. I want to bring in Cornel. He's
Yeah,
been
you
waiting.
shut up,
Please
Pete.
let Cornel come in now. He's been waiting very patiently. Cornel, welcome back to Uncensored, where things are getting incendiary quite quickly. I think the overriding point.
Honestly, after Cornel West, running for the People's Movement, after Cornel West starting his own political party because he couldn't be part of the Green Party, all that stuff. Before I would wonder why he's stooping so low to be on this fucking internet show. And you can look back at, my streams. Like, I held my tongue in my criticism of Cornel West. Because I'm like, well, he's gonna run for president. I'll vote for him. Fuck it. At the time. And he just kept doing weirdo shit after weirdo shit. I mean, it was weird to begin with. But let's see what weirdo shit happens now.
I would make about the debate we've just been hearing between Andrew and
PK Splasher. If you think that I'm gonna sit here and listen to anything Jack Posobiec has to say, and I'm not gonna jump forward until he stops talking, because at least Andrew Wilson is fucking entertaining. But if I want to hear somebody that looks like he just finished fucking crying, no, I can't stand that motherfucker. You gotta look, if you're gonna be a right-wing fucking Christian nationalist, white nationalist, at least fucking entertain me. At least fucking entertain me. If you're gonna be monotone fucking I cry nonstop. We were good friends. If you're gonna start doing that shit, fuck out of here. Look at him. Look how he look. Quiere llorar. Look at him. Look at constipated face forever, bro. God damn.
and Anna, is that there is little doubt to me that the constant rhetoric on the left, the woke left, let me be specific to where I think a lot of the blame lies,
The woke
ever since Donald
left.
Trump came into
Oh, and we know that woke is a dog whistle for what?
power in 2016, has been this relentless use of the phrases Hitler, Nazis, fascists about Trump and about Trump supporters. And the problem with constantly saying this as a group, as the woke left have done for 9 years now, is that eventually it permeates down to young impressionable minds who genuinely believe that it is their mission to stop.
Goodfellow Taco, I suggest you look into Dr. West's long political advocacy, and he has always been a, how do I say this, he was always willing to compromise. Let's put it that way.
Stop America from being taken over by the new Nazis or the new fascists or the new Hitler. And that leads
See, I
to the
hate
kind
that
of
the new this, the new that. Nah, these are the fucking OGs. These are the original. I hate when we call them fucking Nazis. They're Klansmen. They're Klansmen.
the thing we saw with Charlie Kirk. Do you agree that this language, this relentless, in my view, woeful misuse, particularly of the word Nazi, towards Trump and his supporters, this is part of the problem?
Well, I think part of the deeper problem, though, Brother Pierce, is that the organized greed and weaponized hatred and routinized indifference toward the vulnerable has come together in such a way that it has eroded the sources of character formation, so that integrity, honesty, decency, and self-critical sensibilities of individuals and groups is more and more disappearing. So you end up with because hatred itself is promiscuous, just like greed. Just like indifference toward the suffering of others. It's promiscuous. It will lie with the left, right, center. It lies with Christians. It lies with Muslims. It lies with Jews. It lies with Buddhists. It lies with Hindus. And human beings were so wretched in the first place. If we don't undergo some kind of spiritual and moral cultivation, we end up falling back on greed and hatred and indifference. And I mean, the American empire at this moment is one in which the lethal combination of the hatred and the greed and the indifference generates very much the exchange that we just saw. You see, this brother right here says, well, all leftists want to see me dead. Well, I'm a leftist. I don't want to see you dead. I'm a Christian.
You called Trump's administration a neo-fascist movement, you lunatic. You people
yes,
have gone
indeed.
out
You're
of your way.
absolutely right.
You have gone out of your way.
Let me make the
to do
case.
everything
Let me
possible to
make the
cultivate
case.
this.
Let me make the case.
Oh, yeah,
Will
you
you
just
allow
made
me to
your
speak,
case.
brother? Come
You
on,
just
man.
made your
Come on.
case.
No, you haven't made the case. If you think I made the case, then you're not in this dialogue.
You just said this brother over here said this.
You're very,
You
very
called him
different, brother Charlie, man.
neo-fascist. That's
You're
what
very
you called
different
him,
than Charlie, though, man.
neo-fascist.
Yes, absolutely.
You're very different than Charlie. Did I mishear that? Let me slow it down. We're seeing some Christian on Christian violence over here, y'all. Where are we?
Trump's administration a neo-fascist movement, you lunatic. You people
yes,
have gone
indeed.
out
You're
of your
absolutely
way.
right.
You have gone out of your way.
Let me make the
to
case.
Do everything
Let me
possible
make
to
the
cultivate
case.
this.
Let me make the case.
Oh, yeah,
Will you
just
allow
made
me to
your
speak,
case.
brother?
You
Come
just
on, man.
made your
Come on.
case.
No, you haven't made the case. If you think I've made the case, then you're not in this dialogue.
You just said this brother
different
over
than
here
Charlie.
said
You
this.
What? Hold on. What? Is he saying, is Cornel West saying, you're not allowing me to make my case and you're not in dialogue? You're very different from Charlie Kirk? What? I fucking hate it here, bro. I fucking hate it here.
All leftists want to see me dead. Well, I'm a leftist. I don't want to see you dead. I'm a Christian.
You called Trump's administration a neo-fascist movement, you lunatic. You people have gone out
You're
of your
absolutely
way.
right.
You have gone out of your way.
Let me make the
to
case.
Do everything
Let me
possible
make
to
the
cultivate
case.
this.
Let me make the case.
Oh, yeah,
Will
you
you
just
allow
made
me to
your
speak,
case.
brother? Come
You
on,
just
man.
made your
Come on.
case.
No, you haven't made the case. If you think I've made the case, then you're not in this dialogue.
You just said this brother.
If you haven't allowed me to make the case. No. If you think that I've made the case and you're not interested in dialogue, and then he says, you're not like Charlie Kirk. You're not being in dialogue. You're different.
Over here said
You're different than Charlie. Dr. West has a favorite Christian white nationalist. He's like Charlie Kirk, Andrew Wilson. He's got a favorite Christian white nationalist. That's wild. Am I misreading this? The Hamon? Damn.
You're very, very different than Brother Charlie, man. You're very different than Charlie, though.
You're very different than Brother Charlie. So, like, he's upholding. Dr. West is, like, holding up Charlie Kirk to shame Andrew Wilson, saying, you're not like Charlie. Like, you need to rise above to be like Charlie Kirk. What the fuck, bro?
Oh, man. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I can
it's
make
your
a
rhetoric
case
due
for
to
that,
people
too.
like you that got that man killed, sir.
No. There are such a thing as neo.
If anything, the young misled child that was, misguided by Satan to take that shot. Who, we all believe in forgiveness, as the Bible says. So we should all forgive him and turn the other cheek. Was upset that Charlie Kirk wasn't a real fascist. Oh, well, I wouldn't say real fascist, that he wasn't really with the whiteness the way that was necessary.
Fascist. But Pierce, why you have a brother on who's not going to allow nobody to speak, man? We're just wasting time. If all you're interested in is making your money and you bring this brother on it and nobody can say a word and we can't even mourn Brother Charlie passing. I had dialogues with Brother Charlie. This brother's going to say, oh, this kumbaya and so forth. No. Charlie was made in the image of a loving and mighty God. I believe that. I say my prayers for Sister Erica and the kids because this brother wants to trash my Christian sensibility. And look at him laughing now. It's a joke, man. Pierce, it's not worth it.
Is Charlie Kirk part of the neo-fascist movement?
Not with this brother.
Is he part of your neo-fascist movement?
Not with this brother.
Yeah.
When Charlie himself says that he is against Civil Rights Act, does that make him a proponent of Jim Crow? When he calls Martin Luther King Jr. an awful human being and a scumbag?
There it is.
There it is. There it is. Quoting Charlie Kirk's own words. There it is. But also, what the fuck then, Dr. West? Why are you praying for somebody doing the exact fucking shit you just quoted? Why are you praying for them? Why are you praying for their wife who's going to continue that fucking work?
I'm critical
There
of
it
that.
is.
I am critical of that. You're absolutely right, Brother Wilson. You're absolutely right. But
There
if
it
all
is.
you're going to do is be arrogant, you're arrogant just like the so-called leftists you're talking about. But Pierce, you making your money, brother. Go on and make your money, man.
It's not
But
about
this is
making-
not worth it.
Cornel,
this brother
it's not
right
about
here
making
is part of
money.
the problem. This other brother who has a deep connection to Charlie, he's willing to at least listen. But this brother's not willing to
Cornel,
listen.
can
so
you
it's a waste
sit
of
down?
time. I'm gone, man.
I would
I'm
like you
gone.
to
I'm
remain
gone.
part of the
No, no,
debate.
no. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. He's smoking his cigarettes with his arrogant self. Come on, man. We don't have enough dialogue at all.
Surely you're not
Not
going to
even
walk
worth it.
out in a debate
Why
about
don't you cry
dialogue.
more?
Go on and make your money, man.
Right. Well, there's a kind of farcical to quit a debate where we're literally debating about the importance of free speech and being able to listen to each other's opinions, which seems to me completely insane.
Is Cornel crying? This Christian white nationalist isn't as nice to me as the other Christian white nationalists. At least the other Christian white nationalist pretended to hear and understand what I was saying before spewing his Christian white nationalism. I can't make your goddamn money. I can't support this Christian white nationalism when he's disparaging the memory and the heartfelt Christian white nationalism of the other. Right? Holy shit, bro. Come on. You can't get upset when the Christian white nationalists are being meanies to you. They're your brothers. You're gonna fight with your brothers. So fucking good, bro. No fucking shame. You cannot have a favorite white nationalist. I mean, I had tried, I tried my best to be nice and respectful and considerate of Dr. West. If you haven't seen, fuck, I don't have a lot of time. I do not have a lot of time. Hold on. He was on Black Liberation Media. No, I'm not gonna find it here. Yes. Let's see here. Oh, what the fuck? I removed it. Hold on. Fuck. How long ago was this? 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago? No, it was a long ass conversation. Yeah, it was this one.
And sanctity, no matter
Hold on.
who they
Absolutely,
are, no matter what
absolutely.
social system they find themselves.
Hold on. Y'all remember this? Oh yeah. Let's see. Let's try this. 47:15. 47 and 15. Let's try this. Man. I mean, credit to Jackie Lukemont, because I know from my understanding, and I'm please somebody correct me. She's Christian. So credit to her for having this difficult conversation and being on top of it. Come on, you two.
The sanctity, no
I hear you.
matter who they are.
No, come on. 47 something.
Is that when, yes, it's not a matter just of your behavior changing. It's a
We got different
Even heard about. Would that be your argument?
folk in regard to Hamas.
Hold on, because I think it's Kamal F. Franklin that asked the Nat Turner question. 47. Okay, let's start here.
Change my views about a Palestinian life has less value than Israeli life. I haven't changed my views about blood.
Jesus. All right, let's go back a little further. Let's go back. I cannot take up too much time on this, but we have to look over this. When was this? I might have missed. Yes, this was 1 year ago. 1 year ago, when he was running for president. This for me, I was like, I fucking threw my hands. I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I just can't. I can't continue to turn a blind eye and to Dr. West shortcomings and allegiance to maintaining peace with white supremacy.
with your perceived leaning towards a false equivalence between Palestinians and Israelis is that when, yes, it's not a matter just of your behavior changing, it's a matter of what that continued activity looks like and what impact it has when received in the frame or through a lens of, well, he also kind of leans towards this guy, kind of leans towards this group, and does kind of, I think that's the point for me, is that it's not that you're going to change, it's that the impact of what you're doing is going to change. But
I mean, even with the Palestinian situation, though, what I would have written 20 years ago with Edward Zaid, as opposed to what I wrote in the last 2 weeks, is still the same. It's still the same. I haven't changed my views about the vicious domination and occupation. I haven't changed my views about a Palestinian life has less value than Israeli life. I haven't changed my views about blood on there. That's all in the tweets, right? The hands are on the U.S. government and the Israeli government and so forth. Now, I've got certain differences of folk in regard to Hamas. Oh, ain't no doubt about that. Very much so. That resistance takes a number of different forms. And if it takes the form of killing innocent folk, then I've always been critical of that. You see. And there we got different orientations. We can argue with Nat Turner in the same way. I mean, I've had
would that be your argument?
So he brings up Nat Turner. Unprompted, he brings up Nat Turner. He says we could argue Nat Turner the same way. Dr. West brings up Nat Turner in relations to being sympathetic and valuing the life of the colonized Palestinian native to the, invading colonizer Israeli. And he brings up Nat Turner. Remember that. He brings him up.
Let me interrupt you on that. So would that be your article? Would that be your argument that Nat Turner, if that's, we do these juxtapositions or these historical things, if Nat Turner, if you were alive and heard about Nat Turner slave revolt, and part of that slave revolt was killing the family of enslavers who benefited from the enslavement, would your first statement be that although we respect the right of the enslaved to fight back, the innocent killing of the owners of the families of slave owners needs to be condemned?
No, it would be exactly what it was before. I would be supportive of Nat Turner. I'd be supportive of the spirit of resistance. I would talk about his courage in relation to a great black folk. And I would talk about the ways in which one goes about expressing that resistance. And then I would say you don't kill innocent children.
Okay, Dr. West.
But it'd be
no one is rooting for or suggesting that the point is that the killing is going on for literally 75 years, if not longer, particularly in Palestine.
And 230 some years in this situation with Nat Turner.
Of course, yes. And so when you put out, finally, and I'll put it like this:
sure,
when those who are enslaved and or oppressed fight back or do something back, even though day after day their family, their children are being killed, murdered, arrested, jailed, assassinated, and everything else that we can think of, with no statements from anybody, because the Western media doesn't cover it, and so we act like it's not happening.
We're raising our voices all the time. We ain't just worried about the lies.
All right, yes, and
is telling.
But we also have to know that the thing that will get picked up, all the other statements won't get picked up. But the moment you say a statement that seems to be both-sided, all of a sudden national news will now care what you have to say. So it's all about the calibration also of the statement and the timing, which helps to fit into a Western narrative of, and again, no matter what you think about Hamas, I think they also are a resistance movement, no matter what else I think about them.
Oh, absolutely, because Hamas is not just a military group. They got social services, they got education, they got a whole host of things that's part of the resistance. Absolutely. And
but the military aspect of it is a resistance group. And yes, Sister Ashley Knuckles, Kamal can be so quick with it. Look, Kamal plays a lot. And I'm grateful and I enjoy, his presence on streams. It's hilarious. He plays a lot, but Kamal is definitely one of the sharpest minds out here. Like, and just his work with Stop Cop City alone deserves all the respect and appreciation and admiration and all that, all those accolades. And the fact that he's always down to get roasted and play around just is a testament to his humility and character and down to earthness and all that. But he bit on this so quick and really put Dr. West in. Well, Dr. West put himself in that situation, and Kamal made sure that we're going to hold him to it.
It's like ANC. I mean, I'm not a pacifist. I believe in just war. I believe you kill combatants. I believe you blow up property the way the Spirit of the Nation did with Mandela and company and so forth. But when it comes to killing innocent children, there's got to be a moral dimension. People say, well, now, Brother West, all of a sudden, now you both say, ain't no both sides at all. I'm already standing on the side of resistance. Ain't nobody going to push Bishop Tutu out because he brings that issue up and he's a both-sider. No, we got to teach the younger generation that this ain't no both-sider perspective. Just because
when the
IDF
this kind of thing, and slave masters line up in a fair fight.
Different for the freedom fighters.
Okay, Dr. West, yeah, I take issue.
And what Dr. Ball was going to say that, and really, we're being honest, Dr. Ball was the instigator here. I don't know. Maybe. Kamal held Dr. West to that position, but it was Dr. Ball that instigated this. So, let's be honest about that. But he's right. He was about to say, well, when the IOF and the slave masters line up, square up for a fair one, cool. But that's not the case. And not only that, but you're acting as if they're not targeting the children of Palestinians, that they weren't targeting African children. And I said this before, and it makes people uncomfortable. The purpose and the goal of a settler colonial project is to have more people. So they push forward having large families to occupy more land. And literally, quite literally, every new mouth takes away from the feeding, from the well-being, from the health, from the safety of every Palestinian. Old, young, woman, child, man, combatant, non-combatant, anyone. Every new colonizer, whether they're coming from abroad or they're being born in the settler colonial project, is taking away from the well-being and safety and the space, literal fucking space and land, literal fucking resources from the indigenous population. So whether they're conscious of it or not, they're contributing to the displacement, the ethnic cleansing, and the extermination of the indigenous people.
With the idea that innocent.
In other words, don't have kids when you're actively colonizing an indigenous population. Don't have kids when you're actively setting up a settler colonial project. Just an idea. If you're worried about the children, maybe don't put them in harm's way. Maybe don't put them in harm's way. Because for the Palestinians and any indigenous group, their children are going to be purposely targeted. Purposely targeted. Don't let these fucking white people forget what they do to children. To indigenous children, black and brown. Do not let them forget what they've done repeatedly and celebrated the massacring of children. That they would use black children to feed fucking, what was the crocodiles or alligators? Let's not forget about that shit.
People
yes.
were killed because in a settler colonial project, settler colonialism is by definition a violent genocidal process. And we know this because here we are sitting on literal stolen land right here in this raggedy country. And so when we look at the settler colonial project in this country, when the Europeans were given an invitation by the government of this country that had cleared away, genocided, ethnically cleansed many of the indigenous people who were on this land and offered them an invitation to come and just stake your claim in the land that is, it's free and clear. You just pay this little bit of money, you get a deed and it's yours. Are the people who came here at that invitation of a genocidal government that but was still in the process of committing genocide against the indigenous people, were the people who came here and participated in that genocidal settler colonial project, were they innocent? Especially when they came in contact with what was left of the indigenous people, still trying to fight for their sovereignty and their land and their self-respect and their humanity and their self-determination. And what did those European settlers do? Did they say, oh, we have made a huge mistake. We didn't know people were here. We were lied to. How can we live peaceably with you? No, that's not what they did. They called on the U.S. Army to kill the rest of them, to help them kill the rest of them. The exact same thing is being done in Palestine with the illegitimate government of Israel, where people who have never set foot in Palestine, their families have never set foot in Palestine, were invited by a government that was propped up by U.S. imperialism and is defended by U.S. militarism to this day, as we see it playing out. And they tell these people, because you are of a particular religion, this is your country, you have a right to come here, and never mind all of those pesky Palestinians who are here that we have walled off in a prison and are holding in a concentration camp. And not only do you not have to worry about them and the fact that they were here first, but you are given carte blanche to abuse them to the point of murdering them, stealing their homes, killing their children,
I'm with you,
doing all of that. So
the
question.
I love this so much because Jacqueline Luqman starts like giving a fucking lecture. So fucking good.
And in regard to October 7th,
y'all see why I couldn't help but to bring this up?
In particular, I do have to question how decent people or innocent people have a dance party next to a concentration camp. I have a hard time.
No,
with that.
that's a powerful question.
I'm
thinking mainly of the children. A 3-month-old baby is innocent for me. Whatever the benefits in the future and so forth and so on. I'm starting with the children. That's why I focus primarily on. But of course, I accept the story, the narrative, the analysis that you have. There's no doubt about that. Very much so. But what's fascinating is Frederick Douglass, Du Bois, even white brother William Lloyd Garrison, when it came to Nat Turner. You remember they had the big debate on the white kids and the white innocent folk?
And they
all agreed with y'all. And it's Martin King and a few others agree with me. But that's in the context of a black freedom struggle in terms of the baby.
Well, I think we're starting at the wrong.
It's a discussion that goes, but in the end.
But the way that children are weaponized, it's done on purpose. You have to understand this. It's done on purpose. To censor the children is done on purpose because, they're innocent. They're innocent. They have nothing to do in this conflict. Well, why the fuck did you bring them over here? And why are you purposely having so many of them in order to populate and increase your territory as you try and conquer this land? So while the children themselves may be innocent, the settler colonizer has them as tools, weapons, and shields to commit their atrocities and pass down their knowledge of warfare, of extermination, and pass down the property that they acquire through those barbaric actions. So they are an extension, the same way that a gun is an extension of a settler colonizer. They are an extension of the settler colonizer, and that made be uncomfortable for you, and that is completely unfair to the child, but it is child abuse, the way that they treat them. But they do that on purpose. They have those large families for a reason. It's to occupy space, land, and to pass down those colonial knowledge and practices. I wish I could say more, but we'll leave it like that.
Resistance takes a form of nonviolence. The nonviolent Palestinian movement, the IDF shot them down like dogs over and over again, just like South Africa up until 1957. We've seen it in other contexts as well. That's why I'm not a pacifist like Martin, Tutu, and others. But what other forms of resistance? Well, that's why BTS means much, much, much to me, because it's a nonviolent form of resistance, and it needs to be more robust.
I'm pretty sure he said BDS, but it sounded like he said BTS. I'm pretty sure that's a K-pop band. But it'd be hilarious if like Cornel West was turned out to be like this giant, like, I don't know what they're called, but like a K-pop fan. It would be the best. I'm sorry.
Bust and so forth. And I believe in violent resistance when it is what we call just war.
But my goodness, Dr. West, the targeting of children is a false, is a straw, false equivalence, whatever, a fallacy, name, pick one. The safest thing for Israeli and historically white children is not to be the children of colonizers and enslavers.
Yep.
So I mean, you know, so
but they got to grow up to make a choice to go against their daddies and mommies.
Right, but they are innocent.
But as they're growing, what do they require? They require safety. And how are they made safe? How are the children of colonizers made safe? By displacing and ridding yourself of the indigenous population. That's how you secure the safety of white children. I recommend everybody go check that one out. But we got to get back to the main one. I'm sorry. I even watched a little bit more than I wanted to, but it's such a great conversation. I'm not sure if I think he did come back after this, but it was just to talk about music with the ear doctor and Bernadette Kim Brown. I forget who else was there. Maybe Dr. Ball was in that conversation, but it was strictly just about music, not about politics. I don't know if he came on after that, but I'm willing to be corrected. So yeah, Piers Morgan gets upset that Dr. West was unwilling to listen to this like Christian white nationalist.
Of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate.
Oh, they pulled up Destiny's tweets? Is that who it was?
Been quite active on social media since Charlie Kirk's death. When Erica Kirk posted Charlie's coffin, you responded, she tagged him, brackets crying face emojis, in response to Alina Haber's tweet.
I fucking hate, man. Like I'm the person to say I hate when people are can be funny. I don't think he's always funny. Well, talking to him like an animal, he tagged him. It's all right.
Ordering people to fly their flags at half-mast in memory of Charlie. You posted on X buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. And you then posted yesterday ending every conservative debate call out I do in 2026 with don't dodge, bro. That's not what Charlie would have wanted.
Oh my God. Yeah. IT. Fuck this guy, bro. Fuck this guy.
I mean, do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate?
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side. We are 10 years into whatever this Trump madness is, and there is not a single mainstream conservative that will call for a lowering of the temperature on their side. I think that liberals need to wake up and finally realize that if they're not willing to do it, it will never come down. If you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Donald Trump should have been president for the second term. Every time he's in office, this...
Can't stand him, but he's correct. Mickey makes mistakes. Hey, fascist catch. Understand that these are like right-wing memes. These are Groyper kind of slogans used ironically, right? It's very similar to, and it's frustrating how people forget, like, because it became popular. I understand not being in touch with, and I'm not by any degree with those spaces, but at least understanding some of the memes when they were doing the OK sign, and it was the W for white and then the P for power. When they were doing, they were holding it like this, right? They were memeing it and being like, oh, can you believe that liberals and left-wingers think that that this actually means white power, LOL. They're freaking out over nothing. But then they kept doing it because it was a meme, it was a joke. They think this means white power. But all the people that support white power were doing it. So whether you're being sincere or not, whether you're being ironic or not, at the end of the day, it's still a white supremacist slogan, it's still a white supremacist symbol, it's still all that. Stephen Miller threw that shit up. He threw up his set. This is what I'm saying. This is a you gotta view these motherfuckers like gang members, bro. Oh, because they're not black, because they're not brown, because they're not tatted up. They're upstanding citizens. It's just politics. Fuck that shit. This is gang warfare. They're throwing up their fucking set, but they're doing it ironically, funny, memeing and shit. So we downplay it, we dismiss it. Oh, why they're white, so boys will just be boys. We always infantilize white men. Fuck that shit. All right, I got like 15 minutes left. Let's go.
Happens. People joked about when Biden came in, it was so boring, nothing was going on. 7 out of 10 of the largest protests in American history have happened under Donald Trump. All of the recent political violence that's happened in this country over the past 20 years, the majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it, everybody gets mad because they keep asking Grok about it, has been conservative.
Who shot Charlie Kirk?
A guy from Utah who was raised in a Christian family, who was a 22-year-old.
A guy described.
He wasn't
Destiny.
trans. He didn't have a trans girlfriend. He didn't have any trans influences. He didn't have any trans bullets. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys were wrong on all of that.
To be clear, the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, has made it clear that their investigation has now established that he had been radicalized by a leftist ideology, which drove him to do this. That's just.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. When?
Yesterday, he said that.
No. When was he radicalized? In the 6 months that he did remote college?
I don't know when he was radicalized, but I do know the very reasonable sounding governor of Utah has made it clear.
The very reasonable sounding governor of Utah. Wasn't he the one? Was it not the governor of Utah saying, "Oh, I wish that it was somebody from outside the community," if you know what I mean? Governor of Utah. What's his name? Spencer Cox. Yes, it was this motherfucker, Spencer Cox. I wish it was somebody outside of the community. No. Is that not what he said? Yeah, that's what he said.
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country.
Yo.
Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for.
White Jesus did not answer my prayer. That I was one of them minorities. I was one of them hordes that coming through our great righteous border. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of here. Piers Morgan wants you to believe him.
Not true.
You may not want to hear this.
Ongoing investigation.
You may not want to hear it, Destiny. But the reality is the investigators, according to the governor of Utah, have established that he was radicalized to a leftist ideology that drove him to murder Charlie Kirk. Now, let me just ask you.
It's like, why the fuck do y'all have me like agreeing with this fucking creep pedal Destiny? Why would you just take it at face value? And of course, I'm not a leftist. The Comprador is quietly not pushing back. And that's what I'm saying. The Hassan Pikers, the Destinies, these are the people that they push as the image, as the face of the left.
It's not true. There's no way to deal with it.
Okay, you're accusing the governor of lying. Yeah. That's your prerogative. But
you're accusing the governor of lying. Bro, he was almost crying, weeping, saying, I prayed to white Jesus that this wouldn't be a good Christian Mormon white man. We're supposed to take his word for it.
If it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
So you won't condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk until Donald Trump says something.
I'm a YouTuber. Leftists and Democrats have been condemning and turning down the temperature, condemning violence, turning down the temperature for a decade. Donald Trump can't go on TV and say, all of us need to calm down.
Right.
Can you tell me why he cannot?
Why would you expect anybody, Destiny?
You can't answer that. Can you answer that question? Why can't
Can you answer this question?
All of us should be less violent.
Why do you think?
Say that?
Why do you think?
Your behavior contingent on Donald Trump?
Now she fucking speaks up. Now she fucking speaks up. When Piers Morgan was spreading the lies and misinformation that the Utah governor that was crying because it wasn't a fucking minority, because it wasn't an illegal, because it wasn't a trans person, it was a good white Christian boy that took the shot, she was quiet as a fucking church mouse. Quiet. Quiet. And these bastards have me siding and agreeing with this creep pedal Destiny. This is done on purpose. Figures like Destiny and Hassan Piker and Anna Kasparian and Andrew Wilson are pushed forward so they become our fucking avatars. So you have to pick fucking sides and be like, yeah, he's right on this, so I have to normalize him in such a way. This is the disgusting kind of like second layer normalization of these fucking bastards. Now she speaks up. You're the reason this happens. When you're comparing as popular as Destiny is, and as popular as Hassan and the TYT are, to the president of the fucking United States, you're purposely being like irrational. You're purposely like trying to protect Donald Trump. Exactly. Mickey makes a mistake, says, I can't believe they're making this pedo. Gusano sound reasonable. Yep. This is where we're fucking at. And he's correct in saying, why the fuck should the left, even though he doesn't identify as part of the left, neither him or Anna Kasparian are leftists, he's saying, why should the left talk about turning down the temperature when this is right on right crime, and it's always people from the right that are in, taking action like this is radical action. I had to admit, I think Lynn Stacks reminded us that it was the Washington D.C. shooter was at least part of the left, at least pro-Palestine. But I don't consider Luigi part of the left. Just things to keep in mind. Robin C, you actually don't side with the Destiny person here. They're all lying American nationalist fools. No, you don't have to retract that. You're fine. Robin C, I think you don't have to retract. You could disagree. It's fine. I always encourage disagreements and people voicing their position as long as they're being cool. We're all good. I'm down to hear an argument for why I shouldn't be saying that I agree with him. Crumb Cake, I think there are plenty of voices that aren't Destiny who are saying the same thing. We don't have to give him credit for shit. What voices? What voices are there? Tell me. I mean, it's not like I'm keeping tabs of everybody, but we were live when Hassan Piker was reacting to it, and he was denouncing violence. Because Christian white nationalists should be able to be safe. Because these motherfuckers, these fucking people were applauding and glorifying Luigi's adventurism. Oh, that was cute. Don't let me saying cute shit like that when I'm in our middle of a rant. Yes, us. I get it. But my point is, this is the dichotomy that these fucking bastards in these media outlets put us in. You know what I mean? Chrome Cake, to be more clear, I think it's time to stop expecting mouthpieces to be our voices anymore. We're in agreement there. Chrome Cake literally hitting the emergency, the e-brake on my rant. That us, bro, hit me right here. I try my best not to induce and contribute to the parasocial relationship, but it seems like the chat is creating a parasocial relationship, enticing me. I'm the victim here. Yes, you're right. You're right. Absolutely, but completely deflated me in my argument. But I hear you, and they're not when they shouldn't be. But when I'm just highlighting the fact that it's bullshit. All right.
right now.
Why do you
Is
say?
your
No, let me
behavior
ask you a
contingent
question.
on Donald Trump?
Let me
Why
ask
is
you a
that? Because
question.
he's the president of the United States of America and the leader of the opposing
Destiny,
political
Destiny.
party.
Let me
You
just.
have a huge audience of young men who
I'm a
listen to
YouTuber
everything you have to
who
say.
has more
So
young
when
men
you,
following
it
him.
doesn't
Who
matter.
has
You have a
more young-
huge
it doesn't
audience,
matter.
and because
This
of
is
the
the
fact that you
world
have a
I
huge
live in,
audience,
and
you
your
have
brain
a
has been
responsibility
broken by
to
online
not turn.
rhetoric.
No,
And
it
if your
hasn't.
brain
It
has
hasn't been
been
broken.
destroyed
Actually care
because
about the
people
country
bully you
and
on
want to bring
Twitter.
people together.
If
You do
then
the
you should tell
opposite.
Donald
You
Trump to tell
represent the
people
worst
to
of us,
be
Destiny.
less
You're
violent.
embarrassing.
You should tell
You're
Donald
embarrassing.
All right, let me ask
Watch how
Destiny a
easy this is.
question.
Watch how easy this
No,
is.
hang on.
If Donald
Donald,
Trump
shut
would
up
come out
once,
and say-
please.
If Donald Trump would have come out.
Is it going too fast? Is it going too fast? Where are we at? Where are we at? It was too good. 1.5 speed. I mean, they were pretty. It was solid. I like it. It's good shit.
Broken.
Destroyed
Actually care
because
about the
people bully
country
you on
and want to bring
Twitter.
people together.
If
You do
then
the
you should tell
opposite.
Donald
You
Trump to
represent
tell
the
people
worst
to
of us,
be
Destiny.
less
You're
violent.
embarrassing.
You should tell
You're
Donald.
embarrassing.
All right, let me ask
Watch how
Destiny
easy
a
this is.
question.
Watch how easy this
No,
is.
hang on.
If
Donald,
Trump
shut
would've
up
come out
once,
and say-
please.
If Donald Trump would have come out and
Destiny,
say, "Hey, we should all be less violent,"
Destiny,
I have no problem saying.
I have one
absolutely.
question for you,
Why
Destiny.
can't conservatives do that? Why can't
Destiny.
conservatives do that?
Robin C, I don't like what I'm hearing because it's reinforcing the validity of the party duopoly that is ultimately a dead end for any action for liberation. 100%. 100%. I usually say talking within the electoral bubble. We're in agreement for that. We're not applauding them for having solutions, right? We're saying, why is it that all these online leftists, and I wanted to hear exceptions, in this case, he doesn't consider himself part of the left, but even a left liberal like Destiny, a creep pedo like himself, why is it that he's holding the right position and saying, I'm not going to accept the rights narrative. I'm not going to pretend that as the right sees it, the left, the general left, is out here committing all these acts of violence when it's the right doing this nonstop. Before we even found out anything about the shooter, they're already blaming it Democrats. They were already blaming Democrats. They were already blaming Democrats, which encompasses all the left, according to them, because the Democrats are communists, right? Delusional people. And what I'm saying is, I saw plenty of so-called leftist streamers accepting that narrative almost at face value. And even if they rejected it or pushed back against it, saying we don't know yet, even then they would say, but we should denounce political violence. So you're biting into the reactionary narrative and you're allowing them to control the conversation and the way that it's framed. Sister Ashley Knuckles, no, this is all YouTube. This is glorified TV. Like Piers Morgan is a fucking loser. He's an untalented hack, so he can't actually like sustain a show on television. So he has this glorified YouTube show that is completely deranged in a fucking circus. And I tried my best and you know, to not cover his stuff anymore. But this was still good. Thermo76 in the Twitch chat, Charlie Kirk was not shot. Blood pack magic, divide and conquer. Yeah. No, it was a gushing. Yeah, I don't even know where you would put that blood pack to make it gush the way it did. That was too good.
Destiny, I have a question for you. Why do you think in your campaign for everyone to dial down the temperature, why do you think that mocking the grieving widow of Charlie Kirk when she posts an image of her?
Oh, Robin C. I see what the issue is. It's all BS. Personally, I'm not interested on being on the left versus the right. To sum up, my orientation is liberation. Well, liberation is part of a left struggle. So I don't know what to tell you there. Yeah, every legitimate leftist movement was a left struggle. I'm not into this whole post-duopoly bullshit. It usually leans into the populist, which supports the majority, which is in this sense white colonizers. So yeah, I push back on that. Blood does not gush. It's clearly under his shirt. Thermo 76. I love the bit. Yipper 99. Dawn. Deculturation. Watching this is the reason you're not getting better. Don. DD. Don deculturation. Dogzilla. Hello deculturation. I am transgender and a pet store owner from Fresno. Is that one? I don't know why I read it that way, and two, like, is this? I feel like those were the code words to activate me. You know what I mean? That's I don't know if that's code for anything or whatever, but nope.
At the coffin side, why do you think that constitutes turning down the temperature?
You can't turn down the temperature on your own. The president of the United
You
States is
inflame the
not
temperature.
able
You're
to,
mocking
no,
his
it's
widow.
already inflamed.
You're
What are you
mocking his
talking
widow.
about? We've had multiple political assassinations over the past year. What do you mean it's turning up the temperature?
Why did you mock his widow?
Online because
Why did you mock his widow?
Because she's being used as a political weapon right now for conservatives to continue. What do you mean, wow? She's literally doing
her husband just got
ads
murdered
on email. Yeah, and she's using it to drive up recruitment for
and
a
you
political
can't even
movement.
condemn the murder.
That's the frustrating part. Look, understand the TP USA shit, Turning Points USA, they're Klan rallies. Charlie Kirk was the grand wizard of those Klan rallies. His wife, right there, fucking, I don't know what they call themselves, headmistress of the ladies of the Ku Klux Klan, the women of the KKK, what have you. But yeah, she's using this moment to gather more support, to stir up more white rage, because that's what she's about. I don't want you to think, and we'll cover this more tomorrow when I have more time, that she is somehow an innocent victim in this situation. She is also a white supremacist. She was not somebody that was just standing by while Charlie Kirk spewed his white Christian nationalism. No, she was proactive, and now she's stepping it up. Authority Bio, no, there's most of these white Christian nationalists are no longer officially part of the KKK. The biggest names are not officially part of the KKK, but they spread and have the same fucking mission. Oh, that took a quick. Yeah, we're not. I usually have a lot of patience for shit, but when somebody starts spamming, Christ is Lord, Jesus, we're not doing that shit. Be proactive in the chat, or you're immediately out of here. Thermo 76 keeping the Twitch chat alive. They are part of the CIA. Yes, Christians are part of the CIA. Wow. Yes, white Christian nationalists are part of the CIA. Wow. Thank you for the insight.
Murder. You won't condemn it.
Can't even tell his side.
You're
to
so
turn the temperature
deranged
down.
about Trump that you cannot condemn the
unhinged.
murder
It is such
because
a
you're
joke,
waiting for
and you guys
Donald
sit here
Trump
and
to say
make money
something.
off of it. It's
All right, let me bring
crazy
in
to me what
Jack.
Republicans can't
Let me
do
bring
it.
in Jack
What a joke to the
Posobiec.
world.
I gotta
And there will
say,
be there's still no answer to that question, Piers. You can't say
which question?
Why can't Donald Trump simply go on TV and say we all need to turn it down?
Fine.
Like Biden.
Yipper Debutante Dragon IDK, and then Lana at Yipper 99. Yours was better. Laugh my ass off. Lana is getting banned now for suggesting that anyone, especially Yipper, had a better joke than me. So I hope it was worth it, Lana. Traitor. I will say this though. Y'all need to step it up because I feel like Yipper is the funniest one in chat. So, you know, it pains me to say so. Although Lynn Stack still has the funniest moment of the chat with her false smearing accusations. Yipper's consistently the funniest. Yeah. Let's go.
Could, like Obama could,
Fine.
like the Clintons could, like Kamala could. Why not?
Why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie
it's
Kirk?
unbelievable. I'm not the president
Why
of the
can't
United
you
States.
condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Unbelievable to me.
Why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Because it wasn't my side that caused it. It should
Yes,
be the
it
one
was.
that is driving up
It
the
actually
rhetoric.
was your side that caused it. It
This
was your
18
side.
This guy was raised in a white
He was
Christian
a
household,
radicalized
in a Christian
leftist
state.
ideology.
He wasn't radicalized by leftism at all. You have no proof of that whatsoever.
That's what
Just
the
like one that killed
investigators are
Melissa
saying.
Was a conservative, just like the people that firebombed Shapiro's house was a conservative, just like all the J6ers were conservative, just like the Proud Boys were conservative. Every single one of these people. Oh, it's Jack Posobiec, what, the author of Unhuman, another person that Charlie's putting. Good one, dude.
I'll give you one last chance, Destiny, to condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk.
You are acting like a non-human.
Why can't I hear Donald Trump condemn violence
So,
in this
all right,
country?
you won't
Why can't I
condemn
hear
it. Okay, we've all heard.
That's insane
We've
to
all
me.
heard you repeatedly refuse to
And
condemn
we've
it.
heard Donald Trump refuse to condemn
Jack
it too. But for some
Posobiec.
reason, the leftists on YouTube are a bigger deal. Unbelievable.
Yeah, what's incredible is you don't have the basic humanity to condemn it. You'd rather
Oh, the
taunt his widow.
humanity.
I find that sickening. Jack Posobiec.
find it sickening that when people are getting killed in the country, the president of the United States on Fox and Friends, when they're begging him, what do you say to your followers that want revenge? He says, I don't know, all the elections are rigged. It's the radical Democrats. That's insane to me. And then the fixation is, well, who on Twitter and YouTube isn't condemning the violence?
Yep.
All right, Jack Posobiec.
You have a great example here of the type of cancer I'm talking.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Unhuman. I don't want to hear him talk. He's so fucking boring. I don't even know his name. What's his name? Unhumans. Shit, what's his name? Jack what? Jack something. Unhuman book by Jack. Unhumans, The Secret History of Communist Revolutions and How to Crush Them. This is a dope ass fucking cover, I'm not gonna lie. This is a really fucking cool cover. That's the same fucking guy? God damn, what the fuck? No, he was debating. Yeah, he was debating the dude from Current Affairs or whatever. That is a cool fucking image. I just want to see the image though. That is fucking badass. Look at this. Jack Posobiec. And he couldn't even write by himself. Joshua Lissick, Unhumans, The Secret History of Communist Revolutions and How to Crush Them. Forward by Stephen K. Bannon. This is fucking cool. I love this. That's badass. That's hilarious. New tattoo idea, chat? Oh, man. But I've noticed that anti-communist propaganda is usually really fucking cool looking stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mag, exactly. Literally just took the words out of my mouth. Anti-communists don't make communism look cool as hell challenge. Impossible edition. Yeah. This is like a anti-fascist death squad symbols over here. It's like, okay, thanks. Robin C. No, look, I hear you in terms of a lot of these white liberals don't actually support decolonization and liberation movements. That's correct. However, those of us in the global majority, black and brown, I like mix black and brown, but black and brown liberation leaders are predominantly part of the left, or I would say almost wholly part of the left. So just don't let these white fucking rat libs, cowardness, spinelessness, turn you away from left, like actual socialist, communist, principles, teachings, ideology. But yeah, man. Wait, whoa. Is he the one that used Parler? Get the fuck out. Stop. Let's see. Oh, he owns it. Sorry. Okay. I don't fucking know. Oh shit. I actually do gotta go. God damn it. I do gotta go. Yeah. All right. I appreciate y'all. Tomorrow we're doing a longer stream. I'm gonna be on a little bit earlier. I'm trying to get on at least later, no later than 7, but I'm aiming for 6. And then we could really spend our time doing the thing. Appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you for putting up with my attitude to begin with the stream. If you haven't already and you're sick and tired of these tasteless, blandless, unseasoned, non-spicy Wonder Bread tubers, go ahead and subscribe. We don't put up and coddle white people here. We don't align with and cry for and normalize white supremacists. We don't want peace with Klansmen. We don't do that around here. All right. We're principled in our position to white supremacy and Christian nationalism. And we dance on the grave of these colonizers. Like Glenn Ford said, organized with eyes wide open.